Good Shabbos, everyone. Like most people my age, I go on social media some. I'll check out Facebook, Instagram, check out what's going on with family and friends going on in different cities, friends I grew up with, or people here in the community. And sometimes I'll even check out TikTok. Not so often, but when I think of TikTok, I think of dancing videos, innocent videos, people may be posting interesting stats and information about culture and history. And of course, for our younger people, especially our teens, they of course check out social media a lot more than people my age. And believe it or not, you may not even realize it, but most young people, many of our own sons and daughters, grandsons and granddaughters, get most of their news and information about the world not from newspapers or television, not even from Google or Facebook, but they get most of their news from TikTok. It may not surprise you, but close to 50% of young people in this day and age primarily get their news from social media and primarily from TikTok. Now, that may not bother us so much. We may think that's great. We want our young people to learn about the world, to get their news from somewhere. But since October 7th, I recently learned that there's a very dark side to TikTok, which surprised me, and I did not know. A dark side that I think should be very concerning for all of us as members of the Jewish community, or friends of the Jewish community, and lovers of Israel. There's more and more evidence that TikTok and the country behind TikTok, China, deliberately funnels young Americans' content specifically designed to foment anti-Israel sentiment. In fact, there was a study put out last month by the National Contagion Research Institute. It's an institute that studies the spread of online hate. And what they discovered was evidence, overwhelming evidence, that content on TikTok is either promoted or muted depending on whether it's aligned or opposed to the interest of the Chinese government. In other words, China is using TikTok, one of the most popular apps in the world, especially amongst our young, to simply protect their investments. And in 2024, we are finding that most of China's investments, when it comes to the Middle East, are no longer just to Israel, but more involved in Arab countries that are still aligned against the Jewish state. Now, as people that have 13-year-olds in our lives or know of young people, here's an experiment that was recently done on TikTok that may frighten you. Journalists at the Wall Street Journal conducted an experiment where they signed up TikTok accounts acting as 13-year-olds and found just within hours, the app TikTok began feeding them highly polarized content reflecting the most extreme pro-Palestinian positions. Even after they turned the app to restricted mode, the account's feed was still dominated by vivid images and anti-Israel and anti-Semitic descriptions of what's happening in Israel today. Of the 8 test accounts the Wall Street Journal created, 5 within hours were primarily served anti-Israel videos. Now, here's more news that shouldn't surprise you. Knowing now that China is purposely putting videos on TikTok that promote their interest in the world, it should be no surprise that pro-Palestinian posts significantly outnumber pro-Israel ones on TikTok. In another study, #FreePalestine in the United States was used over 200,000 times, and videos with this hashtag were viewed 525 million times in the United States alone. Within those same 30 days, the most popular pro-Israel hashtag, Stand With Israel, just 3,000 videos viewed 17 million times. Globally, it's even worse. The #FreePalestine used in 1 million videos and viewed in the world 4 billion times. In Arabic, a hashtag simply saying Palestine was used in almost 1 million videos, viewed 7 billion times. And globally, the most pro-Israel hashtag, Stand With Israel, 13,000 videos, 109 million times. 7 billion times versus 109 million times. It's no comparison, and really should no longer shock us the more we learn about TikTok and what the Chinese government is doing because of their popular app. Now this morning, I want to do something that I normally don't do. I want to show you 2 videos that are very disturbing, but I assure you they're nothing like most of the videos that I found doing research for this sermon. Normally, I enjoy doing research for a sermon. I like the opportunity to study and to read and prepare for a topic. But in preparing for this sermon, I was shocked by the amount of anti-Israel videos that are out there. Videos that made my stomach turn, full of complete lies, videos, anti-Semitic material. It was shocking to me. And I want to show you 2 videos that I can show in synagogue. Most I couldn't, but I can show in the sanctuary, even though they're still very disturbing. But I think it's important for us as parents and grandparents, and of course, most importantly for our young, to see an example of the type of videos that many of our young people are seeing every single day. So video number 1.
It may be a new year, but Israel is still committing genocide, and they're getting creative with it. They've left infants to die alone, starving to death in hospital beds where their bodies eventually decompose. There are reports of Israeli soldiers stealing Palestinian babies. The army has also bulldozed Palestinians seeking shelter, burying them alive while effectively crushing them to death. And they've also turned schools housing displaced families into military barracks where they've reportedly executed civilians, some of whom were shot so many times that their bodies disintegrated. Not to mention stripping and binding civilians, including underage boys, before beating them for hours and using high voltage shocks on their naked bodies. They also executed a woman by throwing her out of a building, and of course targeting journalists and leaving them to bleed to death on the ground, which is also a common tactic in the occupied West Bank, taking PR photos with civilians before shooting them in the back, and of course indiscriminately bombing the entire population, leaving virtually everyone homeless.
The frightening thing about this particular video is this young woman is Jewish. She considers herself an anti-Zionist Jew. Of course, this video is full of lies, using media outlets like Al Jazeera for her purported facts. There's no mention of why Israel's even in Gaza or hostages, any context of what's happening. There's no nuance, simply full of lies to foment more anti-Israel hate. Video number 2.
Palestinians aren't allowed to rest in peace even after they are dead. 80 Palestinian bodies were returned from occupation forces with alleged evidence that organs were stolen from their bodies. This is after we've seen cemeteries in Gaza bulldozed by occupation forces, people thrown into mass graves, and bodies left on the street to decompose. In occupied Jerusalem and the West Bank, Israel holds onto the bodies of Palestinians that they kill to use as political bargaining chips and a form of collective punishment against Palestinian families. Israel holds at least 145 dead Palestinian bodies in its morgues and over 255 in its numbered cemeteries, where they bury the kidnapped bodies of Palestinians in unmarked graves, preventing their families from ever bidding them farewell. Even prisoners are not allowed to rest in peace. Israel holds on to their bodies to finish their sentences. Palestinian Khader Adnan died in Israeli prisons from a hunger strike, and his body is yet to be returned to his family. Israel is built upon the graves of Palestinians.
Now, of course, not only are these accusations not true, but what's missing? Of course, that Hamas is the one actually is holding on to not only life hostages, but even the bodies of Israeli soldiers and civilians they've been holding on to for years, many more years before October 7th. What's also disturbing in videos like these, thousands and thousands, really millions of them, watched millions of times. As I mentioned, there's no context, there's no nuance, and unfortunately these videos work, and they work well. Many young people may feel that if someone posted, it must be true. Young people may feel they want to learn from their contemporaries. They don't want to learn necessarily when they see these videos from older people. They believe these young people are courageous, that they're out there telling the truth. And they may not have even told you. Chances are your son and daughter have seen videos like this. Surveys often show that those who identify as regular users of TikTok were the most adamant in their criticism of Israel. As I mentioned earlier, younger people are often learning about the world through social media apps, especially TikTok. So it should become of no surprise that one poll recently showed that 48% of Americans aged 18 to 29 believe Israel is intentionally killing civilians in Gaza. And 55% of young people in America today oppose providing further aid to our Jewish state. Unfortunately, the videos are working. And so if you ever wonder, how could it be? How could young people not see the truth of what's happening? How could young people not understand what Israel's up against? How is it that younger people, especially, are looking like they're turning more and more against Israel? Even young people, Jewish people, young Jews who grew up in homes like ours, that were taught to love the state of Israel, how is it that more and more of them are coming out against the state of Israel? I would argue to you today that TikTok is one of the major culprits. How can you and I respond? Is there anything we can do as people that love the state of Israel and want our children to do as well? Yes, I wish we could ban these videos, get rid of them, but of course we can't. As much as we want to, there's nothing we can do to stop the Chinese government and millions of people here and across the world from posting videos. But we can consider banning it in our homes. Is that the right approach? That's, of course, for you to decide. But chances are, even if you try to ban it in your own home, our teens are very smart. We were teens that day, and we know they'll find ways to still use it. No matter what we may do, our young people want to watch TikTok, and there are many innocent videos on TikTok. So I've always believed that having a trusting and open relationship with our teens about these type of issues often work best. So today I would encourage all of us to speak with our teens, to have those honest conversations, engage our kids in discussions about these issues, and push back on any misinformation they may have seen on videos online, reminding them that just because it's a video on their phones doesn't mean it's true. It's often not. And when they see something, when they see videos like these, can they use it as an opportunity to have frank conversations with us? If they begin to question themselves, that's okay. They're overwhelmed by videos like these. But what we ask of them is to talk with us first, to find out what's really happening, to learn the information. Can we also work so our children are getting information about important political and social topics, not just from social media, not just from TikTok, maybe from us, maybe from trips that we take them, maybe opportunities we have to take them to Israel, maybe for articles that we discuss with them, from news and information. Give it an opportunity, use it as an opportunity to talk about Israel. And I know it's not easy. We may think that our young people don't want to learn from us, but I think they do. And we have the blessing and the opportunity to teach them the facts. And if we don't know them, learn them so we can be a resource for our precious sons and daughters. In this week's Torah portion, we learn about Pharaoh. And Pharaoh's heart becomes hardened. Pharaoh can no longer see what's actually happening around him, to the point where the plagues no longer bother him. Let's not let our children's hearts be hardened to the truth about what Israel's really fighting against. Otherwise, young Americans like our precious children may continue to develop negative views about Medinat Yisrael, the precious state of Israel, something none of us want for our future and for the future of our children. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.